Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Let's start our video with a story that's bound to make you think twice about neighborly relations. In this tale, we'll explore a fascinating encounter that unfolded between neighbors, igniting a chain of events filled with drama, tension, and even a hint of humor. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. Told my neighbor to F off after she demanded I pay to repaint her car. I live in a house that's been converted into a multi-unit rental property. My neighbor's house is the same. My landlord installed a fire pit at the back of the property many years ago. Tenants have been having fires for years before I even moved in. The neighbor's landlord turned their backyard into a parking lot. The parking lot is adjacent to where the fire pit is. My landlord cut down a bunch of trees a few years ago and has encouraged the tenants to burn it. I've been having frequent fires for years, and so have the other tenants. My neighbor's lived in her unit for 10 plus years. Before I moved in, I guess there was an incident. Some previous tenants had a fire, threw a piece of newspaper on it, it caught fire, wind picked it up, and it landed on the hood of my neighbor's car. The neighbor said it cost her $3,000 to fix. She told us this is the first time we had a fire, and then she moved her car to a different parking space not adjacent to the fire pit. We've never had any issues until a few days ago. Myself and the other tenants had a fire. Logs were nice and dry, so it was a clean burn. We're attentive to how the fire burns to ensure that we're safe and something like the incident doesn't happen again. The next day, I'm out in the yard, and the neighbor starts screaming at me that I damaged her car, that I would be paying to have the entire thing painted. I was confused. She said my fire left a bunch of ash on her car, and then with the dew in the morning, it caused damage to the paint. I told her it was a communal fire, so not my responsibility. Also, this has been an issue before, so she should just park in a different spot if her car's so easily damaged. The spot she always parks in is directly adjacent to the fire pit and is about 15 feet away. She then came into my backyard, still screaming at me that I was going to pay. She was getting really aggressive and started moving towards me, ready to fight. I screamed at her to F off and get out of my yard. She left but told me she'd take me to court. This happened a few days ago. She continues to park in the same spot. Edit. No bylaws against fires where we are. People have them all the time. It's not uncommon for friends or family to invite you over to a backyard fire. I personally didn't see any damage to her car. Looks like it's been freshly cleaned and waxed after the altercation. Other neighbors had fires that night. One guy's fire was over 8 feet. Could the ash be from his fire? I was the first person she saw, and she went off. She doesn't even know that I attended the fire with the other tenants. Fire happened Sunday. I joined around 1 a.m. Monday morning. Altercation happened on Tuesday. Second edit. I notified the landlord about all this. He texted back and told me if the neighbor gives me or us any more problems, to threaten to report them to the municipality since their house is an illegal multi-unit. Honestly, not surprised. He's an absentee landlord, kind of a jerk, and extremely negligent. So it looks like it's up to us to find a resolution. And our second story. Won't get off the train? Well, suit yourself. A few years ago, I was working as a conductor for a local train company. As we were about to leave a station, a warning was issued that something was wrong with the train signal transmitter. As per protocol, the passengers were asked to leave the train and move on to a replacement bus. Now, it was kind of late, around 7 or 8 p.m., and there was maybe about 20 people on board, so we didn't think much of it. About 10 minutes passed, and as I'm making my way to the back of the train to check a control panel, I notice a man still sitting in one of the seats in the last cart. I stop, a little confused, and I say, "Excuse me, sir, but perhaps you didn't hear before. The train is..." The man, not even looking up from his phone, tells me, "Yeah, I heard you." Me, now actually confused, pause for a bit and then say, "Well, sir, you'll have to leave the train." Him, "I'm sure we'll be moving again soon." Me, "Sir, that doesn't matter. No passengers are allowed to stay on the train." Him, "Look, girly," condescending AF, I might add, "I'm not getting off this train just so you and your lazy friends up there," he points at the camera in the corner, "can have a break." As he spoke, he got up from his seat. This man was probably in his late 40s, easily 6'5" and 240 pounds, towering over my 5'4", 21-year-old skinny butt. I knew he was trying to intimidate me to leave, but since the cameras were on and he'd even pointed them out himself, I found it hard to believe he'd actually do something. So I pressed on. Me: "Sir, I'm asking you politely to step off this train." He huffed at me and sat back down without answering. Me: "Sir." Nah, he just grunted at me. By this point, I'm getting frustrated and tired with this bigot. I muster my sternest look and voice and try one last time. "Sir, the train is not going to move and you're not allowed to be on it." Him: "I said I'm not effing moving. Are you really this dumb? Just shut TF up and don't tell me anything unless it's that we're at the next station." Well, all right. I paint on my customer smile and tell him with a sugary voice, "All right, sir, I will," and I hear him mutter under his breath as I leave. I tell my coworker what happened, and he freaks out at first, but as we're not allowed to forcibly remove passengers ourselves, and the nearest security guard is 45 minutes away, I tell him to leave the situation to me. He reluctantly agrees. 20 minutes pass, and the signal transmitter error is solved. We get permission to move and are told to go back to our starting station to wait for our next scheduled trip. This, of course, meaning we're turning around and not continuing our planned route. It doesn't take long from when we leave the station that there's a knock on my door. I know it's the man, but as he can't see into my cabin, I don't answer the door. A few more knocks and then he leaves. The trip back to our starting station takes about 45 minutes, and I call ahead to have a security guard waiting there for us. As we approach the station, I find the man pacing in the hallways, and I can tell he's absolutely furious. I'm trying so hard not to laugh out loud at his fat tomato red face. Me: "Sir, we're nearing the next station." Him, trembling over his word in anger: "This is not my effing station." I look him dead in the eye with a fake, very overly done, confused face as the train pulls up to the platform, and I can see the guard through the window. "Well, no, sir, you told me not to talk to you unless it was to tell you we were at the next station." This is the next station. We're here. So I'm telling you. The man was visibly shaking at this point. He was spitting out words that I couldn't comprehend. When the security guard tapped him on the shoulder and asked him to step off, he exploded in a fit of rage, which ultimately ended with the police escorting him off the premises. I reckon it took him a very hefty amount of unnecessary cash and time to get to his destination after that, while I was left with a very amusing story to tell my coworkers. Until I quit like 2 weeks later. I don't understand what these people are thinking. Fill in the online complaint form and get a refund. No need to inconvenience the people trying to fix the problem. And our next story. The luxury hotel doorman wouldn't share the public 5-minute parking zone with a wheelchair van. This happened a long time ago when my brother and I were both teenagers, but I have never forgotten what a jerk this doorman was. My brother and I were out in the city, and our mom was coming to pick us up. My brother was a wheelchair user, so we couldn't just jump into the car and buckle up. Mom needed a large space to be able to stop the van, lower the lift ramp, load him in, secure the straps to hold his wheelchair in place, and put the ramp back up. We could get this done in about 2 minutes in a rush, or a leisurely 5 or so. The longest part was waiting for the hydraulic lift to go down and up. We got the pickup address muddled up and ended up way further down the road than we were meant to meet up. This was a busy and narrow street with cars parked all along both sides and nowhere to stop. If Mom stopped in the road and got out the ramp, the van would have been blocking traffic. As we were waiting, it started raining, and I ended up running down the road trying to find a shop awning to wait under. We saw Mom's van coming down the road, and she kept driving, and we kept running until we found an empty space. We ended up out of the front of the luxury hotel, which had a 5-minute parking zone at the entrance. Mom pulled into the 5-minute zone, and I ran over, drenched and pushing my brother's wheelchair. He was crying because he absolutely hated getting wet. Before Mom was out of the van, the doorman of the hotel ran over and shouted at her that she wasn't allowed to park there. It was a hotel drop-off zone only. She had to move her van now. What did she think she was doing blocking their entry like that? It wasn't a hotel drop-off zone only. It was and still is a public road, and the intent of the 5-minute parking spot is to allow for drop-off and pickup in a high-traffic, low parking availability area. My mom got in his face and shouted back that she had a disabled parking permit on her vehicle, and she was allowed, by law, to park for 10 minutes in the 5-minute zone. Back then, I remember the rules of the disabled parking permit as any sign-posted parking limits were doubled, so a 5-minute zone would allow us to be there 10 minutes. I've just checked now, and the rules are that anything signposted under 30 minutes allows up to 30 minutes of parking. Either way, we were legally allowed to stop in the 5-minute parking zone and for longer than the time limit. We got the lift down, got my brother in and secured in the back of the van, got ourselves in and sat there until 10 minutes was up. The doorman stood by the car, staring at us the whole time. We could have been in and gone in 2 minutes, mate. This was your fault for shouting at a mom trying to get her crying child into the car. Alternatively, Mom could have said, "Oh, that's okay, we're checking in, but let me get my boys out of the rain first." And our last story. Filed a police report on my neighbor. Tonight, a bunch of my neighbors called me out to tell me my car had been sideswiped along with another car in front of me. They saw the car leave. I thought I had no other option than to call it into my own insurance in the morning. Then some other neighbors came out and pointed out that another car down the street parked in front of a neighbor I pass by all the time. They said it was that car that hit my car. I walk down there and there's a party on the front lawn. I see the car and the damage to the front, and I asked them who the car belongs to and if they saw the accident. They all said no. It was apparently really loud and the whole street heard it happen. Then, as I'm inspecting the damaged area, the neighbor finally comes out and says, "We'll take care of it." And I was like, "Take care of what?" He said it was his car, and I asked who was driving and if I could talk to whoever was driving. He said the guy wasn't there and proceeded to say he'll come see me in the morning and take care of it. I said fine and walked back, but my neighbors were still congregating and said I needed to file a police report if I can't get any information from the guy. I went back and talked to the guy and explained I really need the info, or at least meet the guy that was driving, or I need to file a report, and I really didn't want to do that, but I needed something. He kept saying I should trust him, and I told him it's not that I don't want to trust him, but it also doesn't help that he denied it when I initially asked and only came forward when I found his car. I said I wasn't angry, I just wanted to know what happened. He said it was some young guys in the house, but he didn't want to go interrogate. I ended up calling the police to file a report, and he and his wife came out when the police came and said it was his wife that was driving and didn't want to confess because she was scared. I feel so terrible calling the cops because I see this neighbor all the time. We don't speak, but we do say hi. I told my father afterward, and he said I did the right thing because they could deny it in the morning, or the suspect car could be gone. He said if they were honest people, they should have confessed in the beginning when they saw people coming out of their houses to see what happened. Also, it turns out the car in front of mine that got damaged belonged to one of their guests. Mine was door damage and a missing mirror, but theirs was in the back corner and wheel that seems like it'll be a totaled car. They were jerking you around, hoping you'd just go away and foot the bill for their DUI. Screw that, calling the police was the right thing to do. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.